It is August 4th, 2023, and the Chicago White Sox are 8 games over 500, 59 and 51, third in the AL Central and holding on to the final wild card spot in the American League. Now, I said I'd be back in July, but the draft wasn't as compelling as I thought it would be, and the team was playing well enough that I wanted to simulate the deadline and see what moves we could make to make the team better. And there's some names you might see on the right-hand side there that have made this team better in a number of ways. So we'll get into it very quickly. On the pitching side of things, Zach Wheeler is now a Chicago White Sox. I wasn't planning on trading for a starter like him or any player of his caliber. We didn't have much money, but this offer during the trade deadline window came across my desk. Elvis Andrus, who was playing well for us, a good second base glove, 6.4 zone rating, and he's a captain. But I deemed him expendable in a trade like this. Colson Montgomery, who we talked about, probably the best player in the system leading into this save. But he is only really a first baseman. He's got a good bat, but I have a lot of these kind of players. And you'll see with the emergence of a few guys, he was expendable to me. Matthew Thompson is, I think, a quality pitcher. He'll be in Major League Baseball eventually. I don't know right now if he's going to be that good, so I was not all that dissuaded from trading him. And then Wheeler, I get him for a year after this, so this isn't just a rental. And the Phillies are on the hook for most of the deal in next year's $23.5 million figure. So he'll be here for next year, and it looks like unless things change in the offseason, we're going to try and keep this thing rolling into 2024. So as the staff's ace, I'm pretty happy about him. As you can see, I mean, he's having a great year FIP-wise, not necessarily in the actual results he's getting, but underlying stats are good for Wheeler. Dylan Cease, just kind of chugging along, 3.47 ERA. He's not the Cy Young runner-up guy that he was last year, but he's the number 2, was the ace until the arrival of Wheeler. Giolito, I just offered him a contract extension for like 3 years, I think $30 million and 32. It goes, I think, 8, 10, and 12, or maybe 8, 12, and 12. I'm comfortable with that kind of contract for him, even though he's 29. He wanted to stay. He was messaging me. He's happy here. 2.7 RWAR, 1.6 WAR. That's fine for that kind of contract. I didn't want to lose him. Clevenger, average starter, sure. Lance Lynn has not been good this year. That's another reason why I wanted to bring in Wheeler. And Lynn may see himself demoted to the bullpen. I couldn't find a trade for him with his $18 million contract figure. I could have gotten some vets that were overpaid, and even a guy like Trevor Story. And actually, I probably should have pulled the trigger on that deal. Maybe not, depending or seeing how I don't have a right-handed second baseman now. I added Trevor Williams from the White Sox in exchange for Joe Kelly's contract. So that was really that move. Williams was pitching well, and the Nationals retained 95% of his contract for next year, so he's really a free player. We'll see how he pitches with us. He was worth a WAR with them, so I think he'll be a good bullpen piece and maybe an emergency starter. He started all the games for Washington this season. Mark Leiter Jr. I also traded for just Lincoln Hensman, who's a nothing prospect, reliever, 28 years old. Leiter Jr. was pitching well for the Cubs, and he was available for not too much money, and we're kind of we can check the budget. We're running up against it. Only $2.8 million left for us to sign anybody in this to trade anybody in this window. So I wanted to stay on budget, even though I ended up with Wheeler. That was just because of some other trades we made. I wasn't expecting to go into this making that many trades, but the offers were too good, and this is one Paul Sewald, you might be wondering, how did he get off Seattle and how is he here in Chicago? Well, the Mariners wanted to take on Andrew Benintendi's entire contract. No questions asked. They offered this trade to me. And it wasn't just Sewald. I got Harry Ford. I got Harry Ford, who is the 99th prospect in baseball and a really good offensive catcher. We don't have many catchers in the system. I moved him up to high A. He's 20 years old. He was, I think, a first-round pick. Yep, 2021. So this trade was too good to pass up. I did have to give up Brian Ramos, but again, like Montgomery, he is kind of a first base only guy. He's got a good bat, but nothing that I'm really worried about losing. And Benintendi was never really hitting well for us, 99 WRC plus, and he was a good fielder in left field, but that's a position where you want to bat, and he wasn't giving me the offensive production that I wanted, so we got Sewald, who is a quality reliever, and Harry Ford, and we got off of Benintendi's long-term money, so that trade's a big win, top 100 prospect, save about $20 million, pretty good. Yovani Moran is now our closer. I claimed him off of waivers from Minnesota. He's a lefty with this kind of ratings profile. Hasn't pitched well, in the game so far. So we'll see how he does. But the talent was too much for me to pass up. In the lineup, and I guess I should talk about the best reliever we've got right now. Really, it's been Jose Ruiz. Ricardo Sanchez was a starter for a bit. Tanner Banks has been heating up recently, but Ruiz has been the best reliever. I actually should probably tell you the trades of the few White Sox guys that were in the bullpen. Ronaldo Lopez was awful for us, negative .8 WAR, and I just had to get him off the team. So I traded him for Chris Wright, who is a pretty decent left-handed reliever. He's talented. He can actually play two ways, and strategy. I should make him a two-way player because he can DH a bit, I think. So we have added him. We also traded Graveman and his $8 million contract. The White Sox, us, retained 25% of this deal. And I just traded him for Scott Alexander along with one of our prospects who's nothing to me. Actually, he has come up a little bit. I might add him to a short list. He was a 35 potential when I traded him, but was hitting well for us. I just wanted to get off that money. That trade might turn out to bite us now. Michael Kopech, earlier in the year, I traded him within the first month of the season. He was also very bad for us. Negative .8 R WAR. Negative .7 WAR. He is also that selfish personality class, and since we traded him, we went, I think, like 10-3 in May, and we've been above 500. We were below 500 when we traded him, so I'm happy about that. We got Braxton Roxby for him, who's a decent arm. Just wanted to get off that money. Jake Diekman, we cut. He was bad for us. Graveman was also awful. He was negative 1.6 R WAR, even though he was a positive underlying metric player. Do we trade any bats? Yes, Benintendi and Andrews. Okay. On the lineup side, Oscar Colas made the All-Star team. He's been incredible. Luis Robert, who's out right now, was out earlier in the year, and I put Hazley in center field. I called up Colas, and he hasn't looked back since. He's really good. He's going to challenge for Rookie of the Year. I want to see, he's the number 29 prospect in baseball right now. I'd like to see what his demands are. That's not a great, really, budget contract, so I'll wait on him in ARB. Yohan Moncada, just a steady bat and a really good defensive third baseman for us right now. 111 OPS plus, and he's just been one of the offensive producers on this team. Andrew Vaughn isn't, lighting the world on fire, but he's going to hit 35 homers, most likely, from first base. That's really good production. I was worried about these bats coming into the year because they have a lot of variance in this game, but we've gotten a good draw on the production we've gotten. Tim Anderson isn't hitting well. He missed a chunk of the season He's not a great defensive shortstop, and the BABIP is still high, but he's not hitting well. He's still hitting almost 300, but the extra base power is gone. I'll probably pick up this team option after the year and move him to second base and look for a shortstop, but I'll also probably field trades for him. Yasmani Grandal has bounced back very well in recent weeks. He was pretty bad and then had a great month of July, 177 OPS plus. That might be the outlier this season, though, with his BABIP so high. That's where most of his production has come from this season. He's still a positive defensive catcher for us, so he's a good number one. There were some catcher trades that I was looking at, but given that Sebi Zavala probably won't play more than 150 plate appearances this season, I wasn't looking to give up on resources just to add a guy who's not going to play all that much. He's not batting well, Zavala. Seth Brown, I added in a small trade with the A's for Victor Reyes, who was just in AAA for us on the 40-man roster. I wanted another left-handed bat. We were struggling against righty pitching, and Brown was having a good season for the A's, who aren't like a dumpster fire this year, but they're not making the playoffs. They didn't feel bad about trading him. Eloy, disappointing year so far, but that's kind of what I expected, as I said in the first video. He's a guy that's going to hit 25 to 30 home runs, but not do much else, and that's not really a guy that I like, given that he can't play defense. So he's an above-average hitter, but he did make the All-Star team. But he is not a great player for us. Who was the other player that made the All-Star team? I think it was Vaughn? No. I can check. It was Cease. Cease made the All-Star team as the third guy. So we had three All-Stars, Cola, Cease, and Eloy. Yolki Cespedes is up right now. He's actually hit well in limited playing time, but he's back up because of the Robert injury, and his play might make me keep him up. I don't know. But he's been fine. Jose Rodriguez is back up now that Andrus is traded. But to start at second base for us, we brought in Adam Frazier, who for some reason is angry, even though he's now the starting second baseman. If he doesn't do well for us, that might end the season. Luis Mieses, I traded him away. He's okay as a left field prospect, but not something I'm too worried about losing, especially getting Frazier. And I think, on the hook for 85% of the contract are the Orioles. I signed Mike Moustakas. He's gotten 2 plate appearances for us, and he's slugging 2,000. So I signed him a while ago, too. July 11th, he just hasn't played. He's here as a lefty third baseman, and I think I might just edit him to be able to play first right now, just because he should be able to. I'll give him 100, just so he can be passable. And he can be a solid bench bat for us. Hazley's back up to be the center fielder with Lubob out. He's not great, but he's really the only option we have. I was struggling to even find replacements for these guys in the minors, so I signed some guys out of the independent leagues that have good range. So that's it for the major league team right now. We are 59 and 51, 55 and 55 Pythagorean expectation, and we're so close to dropping out of the wild card. I didn't really want to buy, but we didn't really buy. We got some guys on deals that aren't going to affect us in the long term, and we actually got off Benintendi's long-term contract and some reliever money, and we picked up Harry Ford as a top 100 prospect. So I'm very happy about that deadline, how it turned out. And then the one other trade that I haven't talked about yet was kind of a coup for us. If I go to July, I'll go, I know where he is. No, former prospects. Sean Burke really was wanted by several teams around Major League Baseball. He was the guy that I got the most calls on during the deadline window. I don't know why. He was a former top 100 prospect to start this sim, and you can see this trade. We got some guys for him, but I want to talk about him. Now he's up with Cincinnati. He was in AAA for us, pitching fine. He's, I think, a good starter, but I'm not worried about losing him. 23 years old and this skill set. They have him as a reliever right now, but this is what we got. We got Jordan Westberg, who had already been traded to Cincinnati from Baltimore for Lucas Sims, and he, I think, is a top 100 prospect in real life. I know he's really good, and I know he's with the O's right now. He was mentioned in some prospect talks. He can play all over the infield, not very competently, but he can, and he's a good bat. So I was glad to pick him up. There were some other trades for some better bats, but nothing with this many players that are this quality. So I took the Reds offer. I had some stuff from the Nationals and the Royals. Alan Cerda hasn't hit well this season, but the ratings are good, and I'm excited about him as a right-handed power bat. Brandon Williamson, I just DFA'd, and he passed through waivers. He'll be in Charlotte right now. He's been so bad in the majors this season for Cincinnati, negative 1.2 RWAR. He's a lefty, though, and I was happy to add him. Andrew Abbott, I think, will be one of the best players in this deal, if it's not Westberg, excuse me. He's not off to a great start in Charlotte, but he's a young lefty starter, and we don't even have a lefty starter in the rotation right now. So I was very happy about this trade. I did not expect it. We also gave up Ernesto Jaquez, who was nothing. Those are four guys that are going to be really good, I think, in the future for us. And then getting into the draft, I guess I could go to. You saw that we got Maui Ahuna, who is out of the University of Tennessee. He's a shortstop right now, but I see him being a better second baseman, third baseman, with that range not being 70, but a really, really good bat. If this is, this is a all-star second baseman, one of the best second basemen in the league if it fully develops. And he was the MVP of the Coastal Plain League with the High Point High Toms. 14 home runs, 49 RBI, led the league, 672 slug and 4.3 F4 within 50 games. He tore that league up. Really good defender at shortstop in the lower levels, so I'm very excited about him. And he signed way under slot. Brandon Winokur, my scout really liked him. He profiles more as a second baseman than a shortstop, which is what he came in as. Really good power. But as a high schooler, we'll see if he comes along. All these guys signed under slot until the later rounds. I kind of went for a portfolio approach. Parker Pico from Rochester Hills, Michigan, can play everywhere just like Winokur, and he's got a good potential bat. So we're happy to have him. Christian Rodriguez, I already have an A-ball. He's more of a center fielder to me, to be honest. He shouldn't be a center fielder. He should be a left fielder. He was a good two-way option. Interesting player. Changeup could be a really good pitch. Riley Jackson was a catcher that slid out of high school, so I didn't feel like I could pass on him with this bat potential. He isn't really too much of a catcher, and my realistic expectation would be that he holds more value to other teams than to me, so I'll probably trade him. Ty Pete, really good bat in the 6th round to pick up, and he's kind of a two-way player. Dylan Lonergan, good high school pitcher that I wanted to get before we got into the later rounds. The control's got to come up, the changeup's got to come up, or else he'll just be kind of a reliever. Other guys I want to highlight, Gage Zeal, good pitcher. Reyes, picked up some good outfielders, some good college players towards the end that just will fill out the farm. But right now that's what we're looking like. I guess I should show you somehow some of the other prospects that are going. These are the guys we traded that I profiled at the start of the video, the last video. These are the guys we have now with Harry Ford, Eric Hernandez. He's doing fine. Varus, I moved him up to AA. I've moved up a lot of these prospects so far. He's fallen, I think, in his eye and his avoid Ks, so I'm not as excited about him as I once was, especially given his defensive ratings. And now that I have Westberg. Terrell Tatum's been hurt for quite a while, but he was really, really good in AA. Lloyd El Chapelli, I moved him up all the way to AAA now. He wasn't hitting well in high A, but I moved him up anyways. I think the computer was telling me to. He received that move up to Double A well and hit well, so now he's in Triple A with some injuries we've had up there. Cole Seamus I added. He's actually been increasing in scouting, up 10 potential points. He's pitched very well in Birmingham. Jordan Sprinkle been hurt. I might take him off. He's not really that good anymore. Jonathan Cannon, a lot of calls about him, almost as much as Burke, but I thought he was still a good starter to hang on to. Adam Hackenberg, his ratings have fallen off a bit, but still a good catching prospect. 1.2 WAR in Double A. He's the best guy above Harry Ford right now. Wes Kath, I just moved up to Birmingham after a solid season so far in High A. I think his ability made me not so shy about trading Montgomery as a left-handed first baseman. I think he is almost as good. Mania really pitching poorly in Double A, but he's been better recently. Peyton Pallette has moved up from A-ball to High A. Noah Schultz, not a negative player peripherally in rookie ball, but I don't really see much from him, to be honest, anymore. I think this profile is going to flame out. Norge Vera tore his labrum in AAA after pitching really well, so I'm sad about that. He pitched awesomely in Birmingham too, but he's out for the year. Andrew Dahlquist I added, but he's pitching so poorly I'll probably take him off. So that's what the prospects look like right now. I was really happy about the trade deadline. Right now, though, we're on a 3-game losing streak. We lost all 3 games to Texas, who are, I think, leading the AL West then, I guess. Yeah, 65-44, just like real life. So this is, I think, a good spot to be in right now for our team. Couple All-Stars, couple additions in the minors and in the majors. I'm not too upset about how this went. I guess I'll look around the league a bit. Joey Gallo is hitting 36 homers right now on pace for 53. Minnesota's offense is just on fire. Their pitching's just not any good, really. Or I guess it's average, and the top of their lineup is good. Buxton and Gallo both have 35 homers already. Trout, Judge, Oscar Gonzalez, 21-game hit streak, just got traded by Cleveland, even though he's having a good year. I wonder what that's for. Adam Macko and Nate Pearson. Whatever, Cleveland. You're leading the division, and you trade one of your best bats on a team that is not a great offensive squad. Michael King already 41 saves for the Yankees. Cardinals, Dodgers, Mets are not imploding like real life. They still have Verlander and Scherzer. They have a pretty good team there. In Queens, not a lot of breakout stories so far, except for Ellie De La Cruz. 5.4 WAR, on pace for 7.9 in his rookie season at age 21. He's really good, even though the Reds aren't so good, but I wonder if he challenges Goldschmidt for MVP, even though goalies, wow, he's hitting the ball really well for the Cardinals. Nick Martinez, 2.9 ERA, whoa. 4.1 R-WAR for Nick Martinez, former Tiger, if I remember correctly, right? Didn't we have him for a minute? No. Maybe we had him in AAA. Oh, they don't have that. Whatever. That's what we're looking like. I think that if we make the playoffs, I will stop just short of that and make another video. But if we miss, I will pick up at the beginning of the off season and let you guys know what I plan on doing. In that video, I'll see if I carry out on the moves or if that's in a separate video. I don't know. The plan for this series is evolving as it comes along. But the White Sox are in a spot where they can make the postseason. I think that I've given them a better shot to do that than they would have had without me at the helm. But we still have the same guys, for the most part, contributing, except for Wheeler, who looks to now be our ace. So I'll pick it up back in October. Thank you.